What up guys, welcome back to Project Shira. This is Rishabh here. We have another marathon video and I'm feeling better today because I was actually quite, I guess you could say I was quite sick. I believe I had a ruptured eardrum on my left hand side and it's probably still, no sorry, it doesn't, I don't think it's ruptured anymore. I think it's been sealed. Apparently it just fixes itself. The tissue just recovers that quickly. I was surprised, but I can tell that it's not fully healed. I still get the reverberations, the occlusion effect once in a while. So long story short, our content shifted slightly because of the project being a slice of life, virtual, imaginative combination with in real life, authentic and real world responsibilities and stuff like that. We shifted over from the main topic of podcasting, which was what we've been working on for this, what we call the second marathon, trying to cover all the content related to podcasting as our research and learning phase into podcasting has sort of wrapped up. And then we segue for the past, I would say 24 hours into a slightly different topic, into a very different topic really. It was health related. It was about anatomy, physiology. It's about specifically ear infections. And then I had a bit of a detour into some deeper underlying anxieties of mine that I didn't realize I was having at the moment until I was allowed to express myself a little bit more clearly after a little bit of reflection that I was a little bit worried about meningitis, and that stuck in with a theme of chronic pain and hypochondriac and a bunch of other things that I don't need to go into further detail. It's just some emotional dysregulation because it turns out that I was quite disturbed by the disease of meningitis, believing that it's quite a severe disease and thinking that the ear infection, if it even is that, it could be just a popped eardrum, would eventually lead to one of those. Even if it's a low risk probability, there was still a chance of that, and that really kind of dysregulated me. It got me really kind of in a panic state, and I basically just the entire day until now. Of course, you guys will be watching this sequentially day by day, and you won't feel or notice it, and until I mention it. But basically, I just spent the entire day lying down, because anytime I try to speak or work on the podcast, like anytime I'm speaking right now. For example, I can hear the cracking and the crunchiness in my left side eardrum. So it's very helpful, in fact, that I spent the entire day kind of lying down and just allowing it to recover. And throughout the entire day, I could actually feel and this is pretty nasty, but the phlegm, the pus fluid, interstitial fluid, flow down from the eustachian tube, the ear canal, into my nasal and pharynx cavity, my nasal cavity and pharynx, and then drain through the back as I was lying down for at least 12 to 16 hours. So I guess you could say I did some rest. I had some rest, a lot of rest to recover. And that's sort of what we worked on. We didn't really work on anything actually. We just worked on keeping ourselves well rested and recovering from whatever's happening on in here. I assume it's an ear infection. I don't happen to know. So that's what kind of the segue was, and we released about 2-3 episodes, 2 of them available on Spotify's podcast as well as on YouTube. The other one's on Patreon because it was kind of messy, and I was really more suited to be behind the scenes, locked up in Patreon. So that's what ended up happening, and I just wanted to cover and clarify that we're back on the road right now. Even if I hear the crunchiness right now, it kind of goes on and off, on and off. When it's here, it's going to be quite difficult for me to speak. I'm going to sound a bit more nasally, so I apologize if I sound like I'm speaking out of my nose or some shit like that. That's just what it is, at least for the foreseeable future. And if I don't, I'm perfect, just like right now. I'm just going to continue and we're going to roll ahead with all the things we need to cover. So before we get to podcasting, there was some other topics administrative wise and just daily grocery in real life, kind of like chores behind the scenes that we had to cover that we couldn't get to yesterday because of the whole eardrums and everything like that cracking up. So the first thing that comes to my mind is physical items. We have a bunch of stuff here. I can move the webcam further down. You can see there's a lot of garbage, but basically we went out to Walmart and purchased some groceries and stuff like that. A lot of it's actually kind of like more like junk food. You can barely see it because of the chroma key. There's also an image graphic blocking the way, but I'm going to showcase some of that right now actually. So we're going to cover that, and then we're also going to cover what's on the right hand side here. You can see two menus opened up. I think we may just cover those right now since it's easier and they're more interesting. But basically the top one here has to do with me trying to transfer a file and back up over onto one of my Google Drive accounts, and then not being able to do that. I believe I had to use my mobile phone instead for whatever reason. And then down here on the side, I noticed that the camera's shifted a little bit too far that way. Okay. And then down here on the side, we have OBS Studio. And that's because it's not really OBS Studio, it's on display, on a display source. And so we just want to showcase some of the programs that are open that we want to close off. So other matters relating to more like the computer itself. So the very top here, you can see, first of all, I want to mention that the chat overlay has not been working for one of the scenes. So if I switch over to the backdrop scene, for some reason it's malfunctioning. You don't see any chat up here, even though I have updated the browser pop-up, and we'll get to that in a moment. But back to what was above here, right? I said on the very, actually we can stay on this scene. So you can see this scene and that scene as well with the two windows, or this one with one, that there is the the Google Drive account. I've logged in. There's it looks like some pretty age-old photographs dating back almost 7-8 years back when I was still in post-secondary education. So I've been in the workforce for quite some time now, until last year when I just quit. So this is that Google Drive file, and what I'm going to do is just to comment briefly on that and say that I'm going to log out. But it's basically one of my backup accounts that I don't use very often. Okay, I can notice that inside it, of course, you see the left-hand side navigation panel. It has all the, for example, the my drive, computers, share with me, recent, star, trash. In the middle, there's some photographs, like I mentioned, from previous years, 8 years ago, to be precise. This is 2015. And then on the right-hand side, there's the Google Drive details and activity of the files. So I have backed up the folder, file, sorry. Down here you can see that there's two folders here, the Lexar Elsevier and Structure Archive. Structure Archive is just really my way of doing backups of the file architecture, so of the folder architecture, so to speak. For example, if you might have, the file path directory, C, and then user, and then your name Randy, and then below that you might have documents, and then behind that you might have income tax or workplace or employment and the name of a company, or so on and so forth. So all those are files contained within folders, and the folders dictate the structure. So what I used to do, and I don't do anymore, is I would just back up the folder architecture. I would create a bunch of empty folders that would mimic the highest, maybe 2 or 3 tiers of generality of the structure of folders. So you get the idea, right? I think you know what I mean. So I might create a folder for documents, videos, photographs, pictures, and then beyond that, this company A, company B, company C, education, school, university of blah, school of blah, and then resumes, and then like cover letters, and then another one for like leisurely stuff, like I don't know, gaming, or another one might be saved messages from my friends. So that's kind of how it would work out, right? I would basically create a bunch of these empty folders, name it all, and then organize them into some structure, and that's what that was. So I can get rid of that now. We don't need this open. I can actually close it. Before we get there, I also want to mention that there's actually another 2 tabs here that are related to Google accounts, so we'll cover that right now immediately as well. So this is here me trying to sign in right to the account. I don't actually use this account very often, that's why I had to log into it. As I said, this is more like an alternate backup account. And then next to that is actually the security. Okay, the security tab here for that particular account, which for the record showcases, for example, these are your Google management accounts, manager accounts. So it will give you all your security functions, such as home, personal data, privacy, security, people sharing, all that stuff, and including the devices on which the account is logged in. And so what I've done is I actually logged into my mobile device and logged out through accessing my account security on my mobile, the same way I have it open here on the laptop. I accessed on my phone, and then I kicked out my account from this device. So it's very frustrating, by the way, if you don't know how it works on Google, is such that you can't actually log out of a single account on Google. You have to log out all of your accounts. You have to say, sign out all your accounts. I'm not going to showcase that obviously right now, but if I went to the top right hand side here, you can see next to all the dots here of the apps, basically on the right hand side, if you go to accounts and you try to log in and try to log out, you'll have to log out all your accounts. Google does not allow you to log out of a single account once you've logged in. So it's a pain in the ass. And if you ever wondered of an alternate way to do this, basically make sure that your account has more than just one device logged in. So your phone, tablet, or your computer, or your laptop. And then you can basically log into any one of those and kick out the logged in account from any of the other devices. And that's the alternative. I wish I had known this sooner. I had this question 3-4 years ago, and I didn't have the answer to it. And I've just kind of stumbled on and figured it out manually myself right now. So I wish I had known this sooner. Anyways, if I refresh this, I'm pretty sure that it's not going to show access. And then indeed, it doesn't allow access anymore. So good. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want. Same thing here. Good. So we can get rid of these. And you can see here, there's some tabs here from basically, like I said, I was messing around watching some kung fu type stuff when I shouldn't have been, when I was kind of in pain from the ear drums, which right now they're all gone, so that's fine. I'm feeling better now for sure. So what I can do next is I also have this tab here open for Google on Gmail buffer, and I mentioned this in a previous podcasting episode, episode on podcasting, that I had deleted my buffer account and I wasn't aware of it. I should have been. Anyways, I logged in and I wanted to use it to verify other podcast accounts. So maybe I'll leave this on just for the sake of the next video. Or not. You know what? Let's just get rid of it right now. It's not a big deal. Right, let's just close it. All right. So with that being said, let's hop on over to, I'm just going to move it over to the side here. And there's some new changes to my spreadsheet here on my notes that has some links to some, not some links, yeah, some links actually, to some of the files that I tried to back up. So I'm feeling good about that. And I had to reorganize all the information so that it's more concise and brief and whatnot. Anyway, so I can get rid of this now. So what we're going to do is going to head over to display. Okay, I'm going to head over to display scene. And if I'm going to do that, actually, it probably makes more sense that I minimize this. Also, I noticed that OBS Studio is kind of flipping out right now. It's not moving. The window's kind of frozen. All right, so what we're going to do is just going to move this to the side. Move that to the side. Give it more space. And in 3, 2, and 1, you should be able to see the display. Okay, perfect. So you don't need to see all this. You can see that basically these are titles of the videos. That's why, it's not a big deal that you see this. So for example, the dates, and then dates of the file created, annoying health symptoms requiring urgent attention. That was actually the name of, and then weather broadcast, Phantom Opera, of one of the files one of the videos we just released yesterday, or we scheduled yesterday for 2 months in advance. And then down here is the correlated one, the same video but named differently over on Patreon. Anyways, we'll pop this down. I'm thinking we're tight on time because that took too long already. It's like 10 minutes, I bet. 14 minutes. Okay, so what we gotta do now is I mentioned that there are some programs I gotta close, right? So some more administrative stuff. If I go down here, you can see on the taskbar, there's a few programs that I usually don't have open. So why don't we click those open and talk about them briefly. We have here on Paint, Microsoft Paint, very basic image editing program. Everyone knows Paint, right? MS Paint is usually a laughing stock, right? It's like something, oh, I made this video using PowerPoint slides. It's usually not a compliment. Anyways, we have here, same thing. I made this image, I drew something on Microsoft Paint. It's like such a basic program. Everyone knows it's just like the note block, the notepad, sorry, of image processing. So we have a screenshot here, and I saved this because I thought this was really quite a nice geographic scene. It's from the screensaver Microsoft, and what it's showcasing is apparently from Stockholm, or not Stalker. That sounds like Stalker, geez. But like Stockholm, it's some sort of country in Iceland. So in Iceland they have, you know, of course it's a geothermal powered country, nation, right? Because they have a lot of volcanic activity under the country. If you remember any of that grade 9, grade 10 geo. But they have these geyser here, and I thought that was really neat because it's not very often that I get a lot of pictures from Iceland, and I don't think I will be going to Iceland anytime soon, so it helps. So anyways, I took a screenshot and I saved it to Paint, and then I saved it over to the folders there because of all the screensavers that I have saved on the computer. I don't have very many from Iceland, if any at all. Let's get rid of that. Next thing, in the previous video, I had also mentioned that this is quite important, that I had deleted, not deleted, sorry, I have uninstalled Cyberlink UCam. So I installed Cyberlink UCam because, again, it was taking up just so much space. It was such a CPU and RAM hog, super taxing on my computer, super taxing on my laptop, sorry, and basically I would see that the temperature would go all the way fucking up. It would skyrocket from, you know, without OBS Studio I had like 43 degrees Celsius, which is pretty good. It would skyrocket all the way up to 70 degrees, which is crazy. Currently, it doesn't go from 40, sorry, I said 43, didn't I? That's not right. It's higher than that right now. It went from 49 up to 70, so that's 20 degrees difference. In fact, it goes up to 25, and then it drops a little bit. So about 20 to 25 degrees Celsius. Right now, after uninstalling Cyberlink UCam and ceasing using it, it's dropped down to 60 as I'm recording this video. So just hardly the difference, right? That's about 10 degrees Celsius difference. And that explains a lot why the laptop was crashing so often. And, you know, if it wasn't crashing, the graphics were freezing. And whenever I punch out the video, it would always be very, very choppy. It would be almost like I said, like a PowerPoint slideshow. It was embarrassing. And it was awful, specifically for the reaction and Inception videos to Studio Gek and Attack on Titan, because you're supposed to see how I'm responding, not just how I'm speaking, which is different from these behind the scenes technical videos or vlog type videos, because we're just doing mostly talking. So it's more like a podcast format, right? That way you don't have to pay attention to visuals. But for the reaction Inception, it's very important that you can actually see and that it's actually fluid. You know, we can't have something that's 5 frames per second. We need something that's more like at least 25 FPS. All right, so that's something that had to happen. And so long story short, add or install programs, right? Classic Windows program. That's what this is here. And, you know, I don't use this very often, but you can see here, basic stuff like HP, the already pre-included bloatware, Microsoft Bing, Edge, all that stuff is still installed. But I opened this to uninstall Cyberlink UCam. And that fucking piece of software, by the way, and I'm not supposed to cuss on the podcast, but basically that piece of shit there cost about like 750 to 850 MB just for the webcam software application, not the webcam itself, for the actual software. So I love the effects, but at the end of the day, it just wasn't worth it. Okay. It was a good test. I don't regret anything about that. I'm glad that I got to learn about webcam software and that I tried to use and install one. And honestly, some of the features there are quite useful, but again, I won't be using it because of how taxing it is. But secondly, because it's like a freemium software. You get a free trial for about 46 days, and then later on, most of the software becomes paid only. So you have to go to a pro plan, which isn't expensive, by the way. It's pretty cheap. It's very affordable. $4 a month USD, I think. So it'd be like $6 where I'm from. But even so, you know, it'd be a paid plan for sure. Okay, one last thing before I think I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed because we have to end the video. before we cover any of the physical stuff, but that's fine. It is what it is. So we're gonna go down here to the last couple of things and hop over to, you can see there's a bunch of browser tabs, browser tabs open here on Microsoft Edge. I'm still stuttering because I can hear the reverberations on my left ear drum right now. It sounds like a thin membrane that's constantly being, you know, tic-tacked, like someone keeps flicking their fingers on my on this thin membrane on my ear. So I can hear it as I'm speaking, and again, I will sound a little bit nasally, and I apologize for that. All right, so we have here 3 little browser tabs here popped up from Microsoft Edge, specifically on the YouTube tab. And what these all 3 are of course, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, we were having some issues with the chat not showing on certain scenes. So on this scene with the display scene, you can see the chat showing at the top left-hand corner. You can see right there with my cursor, just kind of encircling that area. But if we go over to backdrop, once again, you cannot see the chat. I don't know why that is. I have the exact same link copied over. Maybe if I change the order, it will no. But I tried to refresh it and it still didn't work. So there's something wrong here. Maybe there's just something wrong with maybe there's a corrupted file directory. I'm not sure. This plays animation here, by the way. Thank you for subscribers. I forgot to do that. But it's nice to have that kind of self-awareness when I'm talking about OBS Studio to do that. Anyways, the point is we have these 3 browser tabs open, and they're all to YouTube chat, right? And so I copied the URL link. I popped it out from the, you can see right here, preventing an ear infection. The moment I click on the URL, reverberating sound in ear, preventing an ear infection, should I drain fluid from the ear infection, podcast categories, symptoms of meningitis. It's crazy. Anyways, so you can see there, basically there's a bunch of these like recent searches, and all relating to that kind of topic. All right, but you can see here once again, this is the YouTube chat. We have the bonus. We have Stream Elements bot out here working away, because I type something. Anytime you type something, Stream Elements starts to run automatically its notifications that I've set up. So play meme sounds using Blurb Twitch extension using the command exclaim walk on. Bonus content and visual gallery on DeviantArt. Inquisitive Practical Minds at Quora. Articles Philosophical at WordPress. Podcast available at SoundCloud, right? And then all links and stuff like that. All right, perfect. So we can get rid of this and get rid of that, and we're pretty much done. I do think it would be important that I update some of these links here. I noticed that it's not quite, I shouldn't be linking SoundCloud. I should be linking Spotify instead. But it's not a really big deal, because I know that if I link it to SoundCloud, people can see on my SoundCloud, there's my Spotify there for the podcast. So, you know, it just comes full circle. Okay, I think that's everything. I don't really think we have to cover any more than that. So I'll leave it at that. And there are some groceries right now that I probably should cover, but due to the nature of this video and how many topics we had to cover, more than I thought we would have to, especially on Google, I'm just going to end it off here. So thanks for tuning in. This is the first podcast / video that we're having immediately after the debacle the past 24 hours I had with the left-hand side. My ears going kind of whack right now. It still is, but I'm feeling a lot better as a lot of that has drained, all that kind of phlegm and pus or fluid. I can even taste a little bit of blood has drained down into my throat a little bit, and I just swallowed. Sounds gross. It is what it is. All right, we've all had like respiratory illnesses before, right? You've all had a cold and a flu. You know what it's like. You know, you don't want to, but you swallow sometimes. Okay. All right. So that's it. I'll see you guys in the next one. The next video being Spotify or podcast, or if you're listening on commute, right? Or whether you want to watch seeing some visuals on YouTube as well, that's fine. If you have had any sort of experiences with like these eardrums popping and stuff like that, you can, you know, just leave in the comments, because I always like to read and hear people's experiences. Also, if you have OBS Studio, have you run into this chat problem here? Because I'd really like to troubleshoot this one fairly quickly. And also, have you been to Iceland? You know, if you've been to Iceland, tell me what it's like. So that's that. And maybe you have family or friends there. Again, you know, if you traveled, I'd love to hear your experiences, because I know that I'm not going to be traveling anytime soon. So thanks for tuning in, and I'm going to close off these tabs here. That's how we're going to end off this video, and I'll see you on the next one. This is Rishiv. I'm signing out. Peace. See you in the next one. We'll be talking about groceries and then back into podcasting.